Hi, I'm Beth. Welcome to my first video introducing you to my beautiful city, the city of Salem, a city I've grown up in and lived in for almost 60 years, if you can believe that. I know you can't because, I look so youthful, but aside from that, it's a fascinating city with layers and layers of history. So I'm going to start on the Salem Common, which is basically has always been my backyard and almost every place that I've lived in the city. And you might be shocked at how much has happened just from this spot that we're going to use as a perspective. So feel free after this video to put any comments about more history. I'm sure I've missed a ton because Lord knows a lot going on in Salem over the years. So enjoy. So the first thing that I'll note, starting from the main entrance, is this beautiful mansion across the street. This is said to be the most expensive house built in America at the time that it was built. You can see on the roof it has this gorgeous captain's watch. That would be where, if you were a sea captain or if you were the sea industry, you could literally stand on your roof, look towards the ocean, and you could say, my ship has sailed, or my ship has come in. That's where those quotes come from. Later be called the widow's watch because, wasn't so easy working on the ocean in those days. And you see this beautiful carriage house and barn that's now the home of Goodnight Fatty Cookies. Used to be a Salem secret no more. Now they have this great permanent location. You also see this common fence, a beautiful historic fence that's on the historic registry. Always in need of repairs. It's tough staying up to date in a city as old as Salem when a lot of this great craftsmanship is hard to come by, but we do the best we can. So standing on this corner of the common, we can see the Hawthorne Hotel, clearly named after Salem's native son, Nathaniel Hawthorne. It was the first hotel built in Salem. It'd be built in the early 1900s. It's built on land that was a former home of the Salem Marine Society, and they agreed to sell the land to the hotel as long as they could maintain an office meeting spot somewhere on that property. So today there is a super secret room on the roof of the building. Can't see it from here, sorry, you gotta come down and take a look yourself. If you're from Salem, you may have been in that room. I have been in that room, but super secret pinky square, cannot tell you who, what, where, or when, under what circumstances I saw it. But it looks like a captain's quarters and it's very cool. That Marine Society still meets today, and I believe that you have to be a descendant of one of the original members to belong to it. Also, I remember when I was a kid, I believe it was about 1970, Elizabeth Montgomery and the crew from Bewitched filming in Salem. She would stay in the Hawthorne Hotel, stick her head out the window, wiggle her nose, wave, blow kisses, and of course I thought she was looking directly at me because I was 10 years old and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So here we have Roger Conant in this super precarious spot in the middle of the street. Always a little controversial. People love to take pictures of him, and as many lines as we paint on the street, it's always just a little shaky to stand there, but they do the best they can. Roger Conant would be the founder of the community of Salem, but of course it wasn't Salem when he landed here. It was Nomkig. Nomkig is our Native American name. It means fishing place. So Roger Conant would land here. He would settle the area, decide that it's conducive to settling up a new community, and Britain would send him a special present, which was a new governor, Governor Endicott, who would be the longest serving governor in Massachusetts. They weren't sure how Roger Conant would take this news, but turns out he was all right about it, and he stepped aside peacefully, and that's when the name of Salem was changed to Salem from Nomkig, Salem meaning shalom or peace. Here we have the beautiful American flag that flies over the Salem Common on a regular basis. It also marks the fact that Salem Common is believed to be the birthplace of the National Guard. As this memorial indicates, in 1637, they believe it was the first time that men in the community were asked to come together voluntarily to learn how to use weapons in the event of attack. So, who do you think we would be fighting back in 1637? Likely the Native Americans who rightfully lived here. But, so there's that. History, it's complicated. The Salem Witch Museum, probably one of the most recognizable attractions in the city, was built in the space that used to be an old church. Suffered several fires with several different businesses, including a car museum, which also suffered a great fire. In the early 70s, it became the Salem Witch Museum, which gives you an overview of the history of the witch hysteria and the witch trials of 1692. I remember when this opened distinctively. I was a little kid. I believe I lived in here. I was fascinated with that museum. Still one of the more popular attractions in the city today. Two more things you'll notice in Salem Common is the signature bandstand right in the middle of this space. That would be built for the 300th anniversary of Salem, and in 2026 we'll be coming up on the 400th anniversary of Salem. So pretty soon, happy birthday to us. You'll also see that white archway in the distance. That's a replica of the archway that Samuel McIntyre would have designed in honor of George Washington. He was an amazing wood craftsman. If you're able to see not just his buildings, but some of the furniture and fireplaces that he carved, pretty amazing. Right, Salem always attracts a lot of Hocus Pocus fans. That movie was filmed in Salem, I believe, about 27 years ago now. And this brick old school building that's now a condo building, it's actually where I went to school, because we've already established that I am wicked old. But this was Max's school in Hocus Pocus, and some of those scenes were shot on the Common. So a friend of mine who lives just off the Common said what they would do is they would try to fake out the community by saying, hey, Hocus Pocus is filming here. Everybody come out to watch, get tired, go home, and then they'd fill the daylight scenes at 3 a.m. with lights that would be so bright it would look like daytime. So yeah, just a little insider information about the filming. Speaking of movies in Salem, you'll see these orange lights that are in the trees. They were left here as a gift to the city, aka they didn't want to bother to take them down, by a movie that was filmed here last summer. So if you came through Salem last July through the summer, you would have been surprised to see fall leaves on the ground in the trees, because the Salem Common was set up to look like Halloween for Adam Sandler's movie Hubby Halloween, which will be out on Netflix probably this fall. They were super nice. He would make an effort to say hello to everybody that he could see. They shot here on the Common under these lights. They also shot inside this building of the Salem Witch Museum. So if you do watch the movie and you see a scene where there's a bunch of local vendors and you see orange lights on in the sky and they're talking about how they can save Halloween, this is exactly where that scene was filmed. Must have a squirrel interlude. Hey, little buddy. So the early origins of Salem Common would find this spot to be a huge marshy mess. A lot of wetlands in Salem that have since been filled in to make the land more useful. It wasn't until later years when Elias Hasker Derby, America's first millionaire, a businessman from Salem, privateer, would invest some of his own money to make this land more useful to the community. And it's still today pretty much considered the heart of Salem. Here we have the home of John Ives, one of the oldest houses on the Common, from 1760 on the National Registry of Historic Places. It is a beautiful home. Looks a lot like the Federal style, but it's actually from the 1700s, so it would be more like a Georgian style. But you'll see something that once I show you, you'll notice it all around the city of Salem. The first two windows are symmetrical, and then the top windows are short. So it gives the illusion of a big, tall, three-story building without having to spend the extra building supplies and the high ceilings on the third floor, which probably was used for the kids and the servants. Now that I showed that to you, you will see it all over the city of Salem. It's a very distinctive style in our community, and very, very beautiful old house here. This house here on the Salem Common was designed by Salem's famous architect, Samuel McIntyre. In fact, he has a whole historic district named after him, the McIntyre District. This house, however, is on the Salem Common because he did design in and around the city. And you'll notice all of this beautiful detail on the building, because Samuel McIntyre was not just an architect, but he was a wood craftsman. Actually, look at where I'm standing now on the sidewalk. You can almost see that forced perspective I was just talking about. You'll also notice the doors, pretty wide for a door, much wider than today's door. Can you guess why? Well, you wanted to make sure that the casket would fit in, because you had a room called the parlor. Your parlor would be used for waking your family members. Eventually, we'd have funeral homes. Of course, we nicknamed them funeral parlors. There's actually one on the Common here. And the parlor, as part of your house, would be renamed the living room because it became a room for living people. So there you go. All around Salem Common, you'll see these great old brick mansions. These were mostly erected during the 1800s at a time that Salem was one of the richest communities in America due to our seaport industry and our trading through Salem Harbor. My favorite mansion is this mansion over here. It's the home of Chief Justice Judge Joseph Story, who is the person during the famous Amistad case who made the judgment that the black men who so-called committed mutiny on that crew were not guilty because they should have been free men under God. It was a very pivotal, very important case in abolitionist history, and this house is on the Underground Railroad notary places in America as well as the historic places of America. Pretty proud history we have there. Brave decision at a very difficult time. Another use of the Salem Common during 1914 would be that of a campsite for many of the people that were left homeless as a result of the Great Fire of 1914. That fire would burn in one June afternoon and take about 1/3 of the city down, leaving over 10,000 residents homeless, many of them making camp on the grounds of this common until they could find assistance and find new housing. All these things without me ever leaving the Salem Common right in my backyard. I know I've only scratched the surface. Please feel free to leave a message, a note on the bottom if there's something that I missed, if there's something that you need to correct me on. Hey, I'm fine with that. We're all here to learn something new every day. And next time you walk through the common, jog through the common, walk your dog, passive recreation, whatever it is you choose to do, just remember we're in the heart of one of the most beautiful historic cities in America. See you again.